Hey all, today's video is going to be hopefully a quick testimony about how the Lord has delivered me from politics, basically. Um, and just a little bit of a disclaimer before I get into it. I don't want to point fingers at either side. So I mean it in general. So, just to give you a little background, where I grew up, the area I grew up, the household I grew up in, everything, it was very much politically centered. I always grew up Christian though, but that was politics was more of a conversation than anything. And that I think, is true even today in a lot of Christian circles. That's really, really true. I don't know if I want to specifically say what side I grew up on, but I'll just say the side that you probably think that I grew up on, marrying their ideas with things of God and the Bible and everything. Yeah, that side. So it was really, really normalized for me to talk about this stuff. It always just kind of consumed the brain and everything. And it was also a point of interest for me, whether that was because of my environment or it just was something that I liked. I don't know, but it was always something that I gravitated towards. As I grew older, I could contribute a little bit more to the conversation. I actually, this is really nerdy, but I would sometimes have debates with people at school and stuff. And I was just really, really pro that side, but politics in general. And I thought, just like how a lot of people on that side speak, basically the views were kind of synonymous with being a good Christian. I've actually heard people say straight up teaching these kind of values, this wing of politics, of social political ideology, is being a good Christian, is, spreading the gospel. And I'm like, ooh, okay. Anyways, so at the time I thought just like that, to be honest. And I carried that with me for a while. I wasn't challenged by any other perspective, so I'm like, well, this must be right, whatever. As I got older, though, and I started to hear other perspectives, I started to question a little bit. I started to say, well, I mean, I get what I've been told, but I also can kind of see this other side. And this other side isn't like these evil, horrible people, stupid, blah, blah, blah. And I just was a little bit shocked by how they were portrayed. That was a really big thing, that they were portrayed as really just, oh, those stupid other side people. They don't know anything, blah, blah, blah. And so for me, that was a little bit of a wake up call, because it wasn't so much just that I agreed so much with their thoughts. It was just that they were labeled as just something, that they were just human beings. You know what I mean? A lot of them, anyways. Maybe not all, but a lot of them. So as I got a little bit older, and I'd say 18, 19, something like that, I started to gravitate more towards their way of thought, because I saw it as a little more humane, a little more considerate, a little more just it went with my vibe a little bit more, I guess. As I got older, I realized that basically the reason why I had clung so much to a certain political leaning and social political ideology was because it was just what I was around. So I did some time on the other side, and I was like, Oh, I meant to mention on the first side, I was like, I'm right, like I'm so justified, blah, blah, blah. I always felt like, I'd sprinkle a little Bible on there just like everyone around me would. And I'm like, I am so like, like this is, I know I got it right. Oh, Lord Jesus. And then when I went to the other side of things, I thought very similarly. I'm like, nah, those people over there, they got it so wrong. Like, at first, it was like I could see both sides, and I will drop, I wanted to be drop the name. I forgot the name actually. I think it's libertarian. Yeah, I wanted to be libertarian. I did want to, like, subscribe to that way of thought because I was like very like in between. Actually, I think I lied. I think that was that first or I can't remember. But anyways, which if you don't know what those views hold, basically the summary of it is that like there should just be less government involvement and everyone should kind of like fend for them like fend for themselves to a degree. Just like reducing the government basically is like the big thing behind them and I'm like, yeah. Um and yeah, so I tried to like kind of see both sides, but then like I realized no, this isn't working either. So I gravitated more towards this other side. And as I did so, I felt all justified. I was basically saying the exact same arguments and everything or ways of thought, but just from a different angle, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to think of an example of it, like off the top of my head, but I can't. So yeah. Um, so as I saw myself saying the exact same things, I saw myself saying like, you know, well, now I'm so justified with how I think this way, blah blah blah. And, those people are so wrong and so like backwards with their thought and just so like close-minded and everything. I started to actually no, I didn't become aware of this. What was happening was simultaneously, I, for whatever reason, was at a point in my life where I started to read the word a little bit and like look towards God. Now, prior to that time where I was trying to kind of see both sides, and when I first started out with more other side way of thought, I don't know. I feel kind of stupid saying that. I should probably just say the labels. I just don't want to like point like finger. I don't want it to come across as like I'm coming for people or anything like that. But um I think you pretty much know like what I'm trying to say, hopefully. Um anyways, I realized as I started to like lean on the word more and look towards God, all of my thoughts were coming very incompatible with holding on to him and with the same like passion. One thing I remember when I was on the red side of things, I would like look up social political like opinion and like the latest news or whatever the case is, like as my first thing that I would look at to see like, okay, what's going on, what did those stupid other side people say or do this time. But I then started replacing that with a word. Don't ask me what it was. It was God actually that drew me to him, but I don't know. Oh, I remember what it was. I had looked up a verse that I had always been told, or sorry, an idea that I always had been told was biblical. And remember, on the first side of things, the red side of things, a lot of things that was taught and reiterated would be likened to things of the Bible. So I'm like, I'm gonna look this up. I just want to make sure. And what I had been told wasn't even biblical. Now, it had nothing to do with politics or anything, but it was just, oh my gosh, wait a minute. So I had been told it was this way, and then I'm looking for myself and I'm seeing it's not this way. Um, what else is wrong, right? So I started to pursue it for myself. And within that pursuit, I started to realize that um, it was really hard for me to keep, first thing I do, go on my phone and look at, what's the latest news, and look for like articles talking about like this stupid law on this stupid side and these stupid people. And so, yeah, I just started replacing that with a word. And as he did that, I started to gravitate more towards God and just need to have more time with him. And it's like, I just can't keep up the passion of giving into politics as much as I want to, or as much as as much as I see other people, or just as much as it is such a norm in society. I will also disclaim that I have talked to and befriended people who are not Americans, who they don't get it either. They're like, y'all are obsessed with politics and we do not operate this way. So I'm like, okay, whatever. It's an American affliction, I guess. But I remember like, yeah, just like replacing that time with God, and it just became what I needed. And it was more interesting and more sustainable, as far as like there was peace, in what I was reading. Not like it was just different. It was different from being on that first side. And then I took a step back and I said, wait a minute, it's also different from being on this other side. It's all the same. It's literally all the same. It's like an argument, the same argument, just two different sides, not one is right and one is wrong. Which was, how many of us see it or have been told that it is, how I saw it. And I was just kind of shocked that the more I backed away, the more peace I had, the more I wanted to draw nearer to God, the more it had taken over my mindset. So this is what the Lord revealed to me. This is gonna be my last point, hopefully. But this is what the Lord revealed to me as I was stepping away from this. Like, he was showing me where I was actually getting it so wrong, thinking I was so justified. Number one, thinking I was so justified. That is a spirit of pride. I totally had a high horse mentality. 2, slander/gossip. It's really, really hard, or really, really easy, however you want to say that, to talk about like maybe a particular political leader or something like that. And you might start off by talking about, can you believe they passed this or voted for this? And then it can very, very easily trickle into talking about them on a personal note. I've talked about before how dangerous gossip and slander actually is, from a spiritual side. I won't go into that too much here, but if you think that it's not that big of a deal, yeah, you're not spiritual. I'll just put it that way. There's a reason why it's literally considered a sin. It might not be a big deal in our society, but it's literally considered a sin. It literally says, if you engage in this, you will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. That's serious. That is so serious. So anyways, it was so easy to give into that. Calling people stupid and those fools and all this stuff, again, fed my pride, fed this high horse mentality that I had. When I think about how at the epitome of, and I hate the fact that people label Christians without even knowing them with that like idea, that stereotype. But I can't say that it's undeserved, because many of us do kind of take on that persona. Just with this total Pharisee persona, and it's so sad. So I realized that um over time, and as I started to back away, it wasn't something that I could realize like while I was in it. Um so we have pride, slander, gossip, hate, anger. Oh my gosh, the spirit of anger was at its fullest potential in me when I was in all of that stuff, because everything pissed me off. And it was all this really deceptive, really self-inflicted anger, because, well, I already had anger going on. So it only like provided even more grounds for anger to grow, because it was like, "Ugh, can't these people just realize they should think like this? They should think like me," kind of thought, which it's like, when has that ever been? That is so, ooh, no, that's so false. So we got pride going on, we got anger going on, we got hate going on, we got gossip, slander. Um and I can't think of anything else, but there's probably even more things um involved than I even know or can recall. So since backing away, the Lord has increased my ability to show and share his love, to really view people as individuals and not as, oh, you're a stupid blah blah blah, or you're probably a, you know, a, you probably vote this way or something like that. Like, it's decreased. Oh, the biggest thing, ha, the spirit of negativity. Oh my gosh, I did not realize how negative politics is, how negative being in that like echo chamber is. It is so negative. You are feeding off of negativity. You are feeding off of how hopeless things are, how hopeless the world is, how hopeless society is. And I'm like, wow, I did not realize. Like, oh my gosh. Um, it is negative. It is so negative. It's an inherently hopeless system, as is anything outside of the things of God, but that's another story. But yes, I had such a negative spirit. Again, that was something I already had going on, but it was only feeding it and fueling it. And I remember one of the things that shocked me the most was, as I backed away, just that capacity to love even more shook me. It still is like, Lord, like, I just can't, because I was carrying around so much hate. I wouldn't have realized it as that. No one else would have told me that. It was something that the Holy Spirit had to show me, that I was carrying around so much hate. And it wasn't like directed necessarily towards anyone, but it was just hate that I was carrying, that I was like kind of justifying as us, because, you know, everything is in shambles because this stupid side won't get it together. Now, and there's been so many other benefits, but do I think everyone is afflicted in this way and that politics is stupid? No, I don't. I think that politics has a way of really gripping you in mind, body, spirit. Absolutely, maybe not so much body, but I do think it has a way of really tugging on you mentally and emotionally and everything. I think that a lot of like issues and arguments and even separations of like our relationships and stuff like that, like family or maybe dating or whatever the case is, happen because of politics. I absolutely do think that. But I mean, I'm not unaware that that is how laws are made, legislation is made, and it has a purpose in our society. I'm not denying that at all. But it's just that the giving into it as if it's, there was this thing that I feel like the Holy Spirit gave this to me, but it's like politics is the religion of this world. It literally grips you like you put on this lens and you can't see anything outside of that lens. And it's really, really, really sad, actually. Whereas being with Christ has made me more sober minded, strictly with Him, not Him plus politics, not Him plus my own ideas. Strictly Him has made me so sober minded that there have been people that, have hurt me. And it's like, in the past, I would have been like, huh, well, I know where you're going. Jesus. And now it's like, all right, I'll pray for you. Um, or whatever, or just forgive you, or whatever I need to do. Um, and that's a freedom that just can't be given by anyone other than Christ. I'm just like, oh, so in awe. So I'm sharing all this just to tell you that um I was in a bondage or a slavery that I didn't even realize that I was in. And anything outside of the things of Christ, any political, social, um, ideology, could be philosophy, could be whatever the case is that you try and replace with God, it's never going to be enough. And it's always going to give you like this blinder over your eyes towards people, towards self. And it's just like, wow, huh, interesting. Okay, that's interesting. Um, and it was actually just like a little side note, it was actually kind of the same with um, me adopting more like philosophical views and stuff like that. Same thing. Um, you just start to look at people in a skewed way, and it's just, it's not the love of Christ, that's for sure. All right, I don't want to ramble. Bye.